So welcome to Using Trigger Volumes, going to unlock a load of power in Unreal. In this video, we're going to talk about a trigger volume being a very versatile tool. It's basically a 3D volume that detects things entering or leaving it. We're going to use one as a pressure plate in our game, and we're going to show you how we can go about specifying which objects in the game can actually open a door. The method we're going to use is overlapping actor on a trigger volume. And we'll briefly be talking about polling, which is what we're going to be doing. Every frame we're going to be asking, has it overlapped, has it overlapped, has it overlapped? Like a kid that's asking whether or not the car's arrived at their destination. Are we there yet, Daddy? Versus using events, which we're not going to do here, but later we'll get much more grown up and we'll use an event-driven system, which is where the adult turns around and said, hey kids, we're there. And the kids never bugged them all the way. But we're not quite at events yet. We're just going to poll for now, and let's get in and see how it works. By the way, by the end, what's going to happen is as I go over this pressure plate, at least one of these doors will open. So welcome back, guys. I'm pretty excited to get this hooked up. Now, of course, by changing this open door code, we're going to be changing the behavior of both doors, which is pretty cool. This is the benefit of a component. We are recycling the behavior. Whatever we do to one open door, well, it's just one thing, isn't it? It's one component, one piece of code, one .h file, one .cpp. So that's pretty cool, right? And then both of these doors get this new behavior. So what I want to happen next, and this is just a simple design decision, is I want our designer, or the designer part of you, to be able to choose what this pressure plate or what this door opening code can actually be triggered by. And in our case, it's going to be the pawn. So if we play the game and then we eject ourselves from possession of this pawn that's now sitting here, you can see it's called a default pawn. It's in the world outliner, and it's this default pawn hitting the pressure plate that we're going to have actually open the door. And normally in a game like this, we'd be using a slightly richer object called a character. The problem is that that comes with even more boilerplate code, so we just leave that for the next, for later on. Okay, so how are we going to do this then? What I want to be able to do is I want to be able to click on a door, go to details, go to open door, and then have an option here that says, okay, what can open this door or these doors? Okay, it doesn't give us the flexibility to choose different things for different doors, but you could choose different trigger volumes for different doors, and they could even be on top of each other, those trigger doors volumes. So we could have two trigger volumes on top of each other, one effectively linked to this door, one linked to this door, and then they could behave differently. So it's pretty flexible. All right, so how are we going to do it? Well, we need to, firstly, say what actor is going to do the triggering. So let's go across to our code. How do we get to the code? Well, one way is click on the open door, right click, open door, .h. It'll take us to the header file, and from there we can very quickly get over to the CPP. But it's actually the header file we need. Now, it's going to be in the private section again. It's going to be a U property again. It's going to be editable anywhere. And instead of being a trigger volume star, it's just going to be an actor star. Remember that pawn inherits from actor. Remember the inheritance. I'm just going to put a comment in here for you. We have, in fact, I'll just put the comment right here. Remember pawn inherits from actor. Okay, how do I know it's a pawn, by the way? As I said, I've brushed over it, but let me just go back real quick. When we play the game and eject ourselves, and then look back at who we are, and click on ourselves in the game, you can see that we are called default pawn 2. Look in the world outliner, it's one of these yellow temporary items that only exist at playtime. All right, and remember from the class hierarchy, window, developer tools, class viewer, that we have actor, and then if you drill inside actor, you'll get pawn. Okay, so that's what I mean that pawn is inherited from actor. So we're using an actor because it's more general. You could say a pawn, or just type the word, oh, I've got my insert off. Type the word pawn, spelled correctly, of course. And you find a pawn, and then you're being even more specific. So we can do that if you wish. A pawn or a actor. I'm going to use a actor. It doesn't really matter here which we use. A actor, actor that opens, because we want chairs to be open. That's why, or that's a hint as to what's going to come later, but we might want a chair to be able to open this door. That's why I'm going up to the actor level rather than down to the pawn level. And we'll understand a lot more about what actors and pawns are later. And also just by immersion, just by coming into our scene and looking at things and saying, well, you know, what's a chair? Well, it's a static mesh actor. And, you know, what are we? We're a pawn, which is more specialized. So you'll start getting used to this. So we're going to say a actor star, because everything's a pointer. Actor that opens, okay? So when I now build this code, what we're going to get, probably as you expect, over in here, I'm going to be bold and go over to Unreal, being aware of the bottom right of the screen where if it works, we'll get hot reload completed. Cool. If I now click on a door, go to the details, open door component, you see actor that opens. And of course, I can't choose it right now because I'm not in the scene. Now, we'll deal with how we find the pawn that isn't here until we're running later, but I'll show you a cool way of attaching it for testing purposes in a minute. But firstly, we need to just do a little bit more code, right? What we need to do is go to the open door CPP. All of this stuff up here in begin play that opens the door, where we find the owning actor, create a rotator, and set the door rotation. Let's refactor this out. You can highlight it, quick actions, extract function. Okay, and let's just call it open door. And that's a lot easier to read now, isn't it? On begin play, we were opening the door. Well, we're no longer going to open the door on begin play. I'm going to move that, okay? So now, of course, the door just wouldn't open. And what we're going to do is we're going to poll every frame. We're going to poll the trigger volume every frame. Now, pseudocode programming here, yeah? We're going to say if the actor that opens, I think we called it, didn't we? Yeah, if the actor that opens is in the volume, then we open the door. In fact, I've already got the code for open the door, but it's not in my paste buffer, so I will just go open door. Cool. Okay, so that's what we want to happen. Now, at the moment, it's going to open the door every frame. So how do we poll the trigger volume? And what do I mean by polling it? Well, I'm literally every single frame going to just say if. Now, if what? We have to work out what we're asking. Well, we're going to look at the pressure plate. If, type pressure plate. Oh, there it is. Now, what is pressure plate? Hover over it. It's a trigger volume pointer, so we need to use the arrow operator. Now, how would you know what you can pull off it? Well, difficult. You're going to scroll through, you're going to do a Google search. I mean, obviously, I'm going to tell you, right? But I'm trying to tell you how you'd work it out for yourself. You're going to scroll through, you're going to whatever. Is it when something enters the volume? Oh, what was that about overlap? On actor end overlap. So maybe it's when the actor overlaps the volume. So if we did a search for overlap. Oh, hang on, sorry, I went off. Do a search for overlap. Oh, is overlapping actor returns a Boolean. That's pretty appropriate. And what does it ask for? A pointer to an actor. So if pressure plate is don't need a star, is overlapping with an actor, which actor? With the actor that opens. Yeah. Then, and that's, just going to move these comments around, then we open the door. Pretty cool, hey? I'm just fudging my my brackets here, so just bear with me while I just put these back in place. Perfect. If pressure plate is overlapping with an actor, the actor that opens that we've passed in the inspector, then we open the door. Let's try and build it. So I've talked you very much through the process here because I want you to understand my thinking process as to how we end up making these sort of decisions and finding this code. It's going to be a lot more useful for you in the long run. Okay, this is how we are going to actually attach our actor. Right now, it's not going to work. The pawn is not going to trigger any door opening. Watch this, though. Play the game. Eject yourself from the pawn. Yeah. Go to the door, which you can do. Go to the open door component. Now, you can temporarily go and find default pawn 4 at runtime as the actor that opens. Repossess the pawn and move forward. Now, we're saying that the door has to be movable if you'd like it to move. You see that warning that's come up? That's a very easy fix. We click on the door. We just go down into the transform in the details tab and make it movable. Play again. To reinforce what we did, we ejected ourselves from the pawn. Click on the pawn. Or, sorry, click on the door. Go to the open door component. Go and select the pawn. Repossess the pawn. Move forward. And the doors open, or at least one of the doors open. Why is that? Let's look at the other doors, open door component, because this instance wasn't linked to that actor. Now, let's not worry about that for now. We're not going to go and link. We could link them both up by playing, ejecting, and doing what I did twice, but we don't need to. We're obviously going to do this programmatically. But the real benefit here is that we have learnt to actually find out about overlapping actors and to write some really simple code and to organize it here in a way that makes it really easy for the designer to put all this together. So congratulations on getting this far, and I will see you soon.